What happens when your future is carved by blood instead of dreams? What if every step forward was dragged backward by invisible ropes made from family ties in a hidden patch of Appalachia? Buried in forgotten corners of West Virginia, one woman carries a burden too deep for words. Her name is Betty Whittaker. She does not speak loudly. Her hands do not tremble. Her eyes have watched decades pass without blinking. She never asked for glory, never reached for anything beyond what stood before her. Yet without her, an entire house filled with tangled names, broken minds, and lost memories would crumble like ash. Betty did not run. She remained where she was placed, a place without lights, without warmth, where survival whispered louder than joy. She lived surrounded by walls built from scrap iron soaked in sorrow, where trees stood still as if listening, where wind carried stories never spoken. Betty belonged to a bloodline that did not branch, but circled back upon itself. Names repeated. Faces mirrored generations folded inside each other. Voices barked instead of laughed. Silence stretched across rooms like fog. She arrived not with celebration, but as a number in a growing list. 15 children under one roof, and she landed somewhere. In the middle, her mother Gracie gave her one instruction, not gentle, not loving, but heavy: stay here, Betty. And she did, while others wandered through chaos. Betty held their hands, cleaned their faces, stirred their food, read their needs from their eyes. She did not resist, she absorbed. She transformed not into something different, but into something necessary, the backbone of a crumbling body, the fire that never asked to burn, but refused to fade. Odd West Virginia stood at the end of forgotten trails, a village where footsteps sink into dirt and letters arrive only when someone remembers. Betty breathed for the first time there, in a shack not shaped by architects, but patched by desperation. Nails held walls that leaned, windows looked out into nothing but thickets and stillness. No plumbing, no switches, just air thick with mildew and hope that never spoke aloud. Her parents, John and Gracie, shared more than love. Their parents had once shared blood. Their mothers were sisters. Their fathers were identical twins. The tree from which they descended had no branches, only loops. Betty did not know terms like genetic compression or hereditary collapse. She knew only faces around her, some smiling, some lost, some never blinking. She became translator, nurse, shield, comforter. She grew up in a shelter, not a home where beds were not promised and blankets were thin as paper. Cold moved through cracks like it belonged there. Summer brought heat without relief. Winter crept beneath. Doors without invitation. Siblings slept close, not by choice, but by need. Betty learned to soothe when others screamed, to feed when mouths forgot to chew, to bathe bodies that twitched under her touch. No school taught her, no book prepared her. Education was carved into her skin. Her playground was filled with rust. Her lullabies were coughing fits and whispered prayers from tired throats. Outsiders never visited, neighbors whispered, but never helped. Few knew what lay inside the home beyond. Suspicion Betty rose before dawn to stir soup in dented pots, scrape mud from floors that sank beneath weight. Laundry was scrubbed with knuckles, not machines. She did not question. She did not falter. Her brothers made sounds no stranger would understand. But she knew each grunt, each growl, each cry. She knew when Ray needed calm. She knew when Larry forgot where he stood. She knew when Kenneth feared shadows on the walls. Gracie coughed until breath escaped forever. Betty did not scream. John followed. Not long after, leaving behind more than silence, leaving behind eyes that searched for comfort and found only Betty. No funeral songs played. No relatives appeared. Government did not ask who remained. No social worker knocked on splintered doors. Yet inside that sagging home full of bodies, too large for innocence, Betty stood without crown, without ceremony, and became what none else could, a protector of the forgotten, caretaker of the confused. She did not retreat. She rose. She cooked meals. From near nothing paid bills with coins found between floorboards, held hands that trembled at thunder, made coffee for brothers who cried when routines broke. Nothing stopped her. Her life never began, and yet it never paused. Others grow old with memories. Betty aged with responsibilities. Her spine bent not from years, but from weight unseen. Her hair grayed in silence. Her hands wrinkled not with time, but with constant work. She had no wedding ring, never stood in aisles, never kissed under stars. Her love was poured into mouths that could not thank her. Her children were brothers. Her mornings belonged to others. Her nights ended only when cries ceased. Each season brought new battles. Water tanks failed, mice returned, bills grew heavier. Food disappeared faster. Every problem landed in her lap. No one offered solutions. Cameras eventually arrived with curious eyes and unspoken judgment. They captured Ray barking, Larry staring, Kenneth swaying, but never saw Betty's ache, never saw her heartbeat holding everything together. She never begged, never blamed, never broke on camera. She stood as always, still, solid, silent. No interviewer could ask what she truly wondered, why clarity landed in her veins, while fog claimed the rest. She never voiced questions, only answers. She never escaped, because escape felt like betrayal. Born with awareness in a home where few recognized mirrors, she chose not flight but devotion, not distance but closeness, not dreams but duty. In that home stitched from rust and willpower, she remains waking before dawn, warming coffee, sorting pills, patching leaks, breathing carefully so others would not panic. She listens for every cough, every stumble, every sob. She fixes broken chairs and broken routines. She fears not death, but the moment after she is gone, a moment when Ray might run toward roads, when Larry might be fooled again, when meals stop appearing, when shadows gain voices. That thought haunts her deeper than any darkness, because if she vanishes, the roof will fall, not in wood but in spirit. The Whittaker bloodline is not a tree, but a knot, a design woven by hands that never left mountains. Names repeat, eyes repeat. The past echoes louder than the present. Betty stands alone within that repetition hole where others shattered. Her strength never shouts. Her heart never rests. She is not a character in a tale. She is the pulse that stories forget to mention, the one behind the curtain holding ropes when everything might. Collapsed donations came, news faded. Nothing truly shifted. Betty kept stirring the same pot, patching the same shirts, whispering the same reassurances. She does not look for replacement. She does not wait for rescue. She lives not for thanks, but for them. She carries decades of weight with quiet grace. If asked what she might have become in another life, she would not answer. Not because she does not know, but because she refuses to dream outside her cage. Her world is here, between these crumbling walls, beside brothers who speak in sound, not words, beside ghosts of parents who once whispered stay. In a world that labels her family as broken, as cursed, as strange, Betty stands untouched by scorn and untouched by praise. She exists not as a victim, but as a pillar not remembered by books, but essential beyond pages. Her feet never wandered. Her heart never hesitated. Her silence roars louder than voices. Her life is not loss. It is sacrifice carved into days that blend into nights filled with duty. Her legacy is not written, but lived every second by those who still breathe, because she does. Betty Whittaker does not wear medals. She does not claim sainthood, yet if devotion had a form, it would look like her. If love had weight, it would feel like her arms. If purpose had a voice, it would echo her silence. In the hollows of Appalachia, where fog settles without sound, where names twist through generations, one woman still rises with dawn, still warms cups for trembling hands, still fights without sword, still believes that family means never turning away, even when every reason says run.